Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a story that literally pushes the boundaries of human endurance. We're unpacking the unbelievably true story of saturation diver Chris Lemons. Now, what we're about to cover sounds exactly like a Hollywood sci-fi thriller, but I promise you, every single detail actually happened, and it resulted in one of the most miraculous survival stories ever recorded. I want you to just imagine this for a second, right? Imagine working hundreds of feet beneath the surface of the ocean. It's pitch black. The water is freezing. You're surrounded by an environment where the physical pressure is so incredibly intense that just one tiny microscopic mistake could kill you instantly. Okay, let's dive right into this. Picture floating in that freezing darkness, and then, completely without warning, you are violently sucked into a steel pipe barely wider than your own body, traveling at nearly 100 miles per hour. That is the terrifying reality Chris Lemons faced. But to really grasp the magnitude of this, we first need to look at the extreme environment he was working in. Section 1. The deadliest job. The mechanics of saturation diving. So to understand exactly why Chris's survival is so miraculous, we have to talk about what he actually did for a living. Saturation divers don't just put on a scuba tank and swim down for a few minutes. They actually live for days or even weeks at a time inside highly pressurized chambers aboard these specialized support ships. Because they're living under this immense pressure, their bodies become completely saturated with breathing gases. It's a super specific biological state that lets them work at crushing depths for hours without having to constantly decompress. When it's time for a shift, they don't swim down. They just ride an elevator-like pressurized diving bell straight to the seafloor. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that once they step out into the freezing darkness, they rely entirely on one single thing, an umbilical cable. This is literally their lifeline. It pumps down their breathing gas, it supplies a continuous flow of hot water so they don't freeze to death, it handles all communications, and it provides the electricity for their lights. Without this one singular cable, survival is measured in mere minutes. Section 2. The umbilical snaps. September 18th, 2012. Let's see how this builds. Chris and two buddies were nearly 300 feet down in the North Sea, fixing some equipment. Up top, the weather seemed totally manageable, but out on the ocean, conditions can flip in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, the massive support vessel loses power. Without power, its dynamic positioning system goes down, and this giant ship just starts drifting away. Down below, as the ship moves, the diver's umbilical line starts stretching tighter and tighter. Chris knows something is terribly wrong. And then, the absolute worst-case scenario hits. Snap. His umbilical cord breaks. In a split second, Chris's entire world changes. Severing that cable meant zero hot water to fight off the freezing ocean. It meant zero communication with his team. He had absolutely no connection to the surface, and crucially, there was no way for anyone up top to know where he even was on the dark ocean floor. Section 3. Alone in the dark, the ticking clock. Remember that giant drifting support ship on the surface? It was so massive that it actually created these violent underwater currents. Those currents just grabbed Chris and dragged him helplessly toward a massive steel oil installation. Before he could even react, the suction pulled him straight into an opening inside the structure. His body was slammed through a narrow steel passage at an unbelievable speed. Honestly, the physical impact alone of hitting steel pipes at that velocity should have killed him instantly. Yet somehow, he survived the crash. But surviving that impact just meant he was now trapped. His helmet light is showing nothing but solid steel walls all around him, and he is completely alone. The only thing keeping him alive is this tiny emergency gas cylinder on his suit. But we're talking about enough breathable gas for maybe a few minutes. He knows a rescue probably won't make it in time. Now, human instinct here is to panic, right? But panic means hyperventilating and burning through that precious air even faster. So instead, Chris makes this incredibly conscious, focused choice. In the pitch black, he conserves every single tiny movement. He slows every breath, counting the seconds, trying to stretch that microscopic air supply as far as biologically possible. But, eventually time just runs out. His emergency gas cylinder ticked down and down until it was completely empty. He was out of air. Meanwhile, up on the surface, the crew knew exactly how grim this was. The video feeds had gone black, the comms were dead silent. Every single expert on that ship knew that no saturation diver could survive for long without a flow of gas. So this heavy, tragic realization sets in. They kept the mission going, sure, but they weren't expecting to find Chris alive anymore. They basically started preparing for a body recovery. Section 4, the science of survival. The miracle rescue. Down in the freezing dark, another diver is slowly, meticulously searching this huge underwater steel structure. Finally, his flashlight beam sweeps across the pitch black and lands on a shape. It's Chris. He's lying completely motionless against the steel framework, not moving at all. The rescue diver swims over, fully bracing himself to recover a casualty. And then, the impossible happens. Chris opens his eyes. He is alive. So the crucial point is, how? Against absolutely everything medical science thought was possible, Chris Lemons survived way longer without breathing gas that any human body should be able to tolerate. And this brilliantly illustrates how a perfect storm of extreme conditions actually saved him. Researchers point to 3 major factors here. First, that freezing North Sea water drastically slowed down his metabolism, which completely plummeted his body's demand for oxygen. Second, the extreme high pressure of being 300 feet underwater fundamentally altered the way oxygen moved and stored itself inside his tissues. And third, his saturation physiology. Because his body was already supersaturated with those specialized breathing gases, it created this tiny, miraculous biological window that literally bought him those precious extra minutes. Now, getting him out of there was no small feat. The rescue diver had to untangle him and carefully guide him all the way back to the diving bell. Once they hit the surface, Chris is rushed right into a pressurized medical chamber. The doctors are bracing for the worst. Going that long without oxygen, you're naturally expecting severe brain damage, organ failure, the whole 9 yards. But instead, Chris regains full consciousness. And when they ran the tests, the results were absolutely staggering. 0 lasting neurological injury. None. In fact, he eventually went straight back to commercial diving. A lot of people look at this story and just call it a miracle. Industry veterans call it one of the greatest rescues in modern diving history. But what absolutely everyone agrees on is this: Chris Lemons survived a catastrophic accident that almost no one else on the planet could have walked away from. His terrifying ordeal completely rewrote safety protocols for commercial diving worldwide. It's just this wild reminder that sometimes reality really is more incredible than fiction. So it leaves you wondering, when pushed to the absolute breaking point, just what impossible lengths is the human body actually capable of?